So in the American cult, we have the paradigm of problem people. These are people that are not fitting into the system and winning within the system. And since we do not question the cult or the system, anyone who doesn't win within the system is a problem person. Now, the reframing here is one of looking at problems, looking at suffering, looking at pain and failure as a teacher. First of all, we go back to the truth that every system is imperfect, which means that every human system, every system refracted in language, is going to be inefficient to some degree or another, is going to fail to generate sustainable well-being a certain percentage of the time. And the amount of failure and the nature of the failure will and can reveal the flaw in the system. Now, there's two kinds of system flaws. One is asymmetry. So if we are trying to repair this system, we see this little divot right here. And we could see, that's a pothole in the system. The system goes around, works, then we get to that little divot, and then whoever is driving their car through that pothole, 10% of those have an accident because it's such a big pothole and nobody sees it's coming because we teach our children that we're perfect and our system is wonderful. We don't teach them about the innate flaws within the system, and we don't point out where they are, and so they fall into them. And so then we would look at this and say, okay, our system is not working for you in this context. It's creating pain and failure. Okay, you are not a problem and a failure. The system is failing to serve you in this area. Now, how then do we refine the system? Well, if we look at this and we fill in the divot, we've just become more intelligent. We've just learned from pain, failure, mistake. We've learned from a person in this situation. And that's intelligent. Blaming and shaming the individual in that dynamic protects the system so that it can remain the unquestioned parent, the unquestioned status quo, which will then feel bad to the person who's been blamed and shamed. So there may be a certain amount of dissipation of community members who don't like being set up as the scapegoat. But the system doesn't learn anything. And so that's the essence of this dimension, understanding that because we're working within a system, because we're working within a paradigm, even a paradigm of teaching, we are going to fail, but the failure can be shared. And usually the best approach, since this is not going to work either, meaning what I've just described isn't going to work a certain percentage of the time. Why? Because it's a system. And systems never work 100% of the time because it's a refraction in language, which in and of itself lacks the complexity necessary to understand with enough nuance to honor and respect all the pieces involved. So it's not going to work 100% of the time. However, the shift from blaming those that are in pain and failing to owning the dynamic of those who are in pain and failing is a very powerful shift. And in general, you want to distribute the pain caused by a system evenly throughout the group. Now, in a cult ranked system, you have someone up at the top, and then you have someone down at the bottom. And the one at the top is never questioned. And the one at the bottom is blamed, right? It's their fault. But if the one at the top is so perfect in an interconnected ecology, why didn't they help the person that's part of their community to sidestep that particular pothole? Why didn't they notice? And then the one at the top says, well, I can't be everywhere in all places. I'm perfect, but I can't be everywhere in all places, so you're not perfect. You know, you could, there's a prior. So it's just about owning the fact that it's incompetent to place the highest burdens on the people in the most pain and to dissociate from them and pretend that some people are immune to empathy or should be immune to empathy within people in the community. So it's a paradigm shift, but that the goal is that if the pain is equally distributed, because in a scapegoating dynamic, everyone's pain is channeled into one person. Everyone's pain, it's all being channeled to one person, and they can never deal with it. And then they leave or are, hurled out of the community. Now, if the individual's pain, though, is shared with everyone in the community, everyone in the community can absorb it because you're each getting a little bit. And so, so the key is the technology of division. So-and-so has a crisis and needs 1,000 hours a year of help for this crisis. Okay, you're going to do 100 hours. Okay, that's 10 hours a month. Can you manage that? And again, all of these areas, well, we don't have time, says the American cult. Well, in a paradigm of abundance where you've reduced the cost of living by more than 70%, and you only need to work to sustain that living 4 hours a day, suddenly you have a lot more time for all of these other areas.